I've got 1,000 questions coming from deep within. Wanna cut through the clutter. I need to know that my next move matters. And it all comes down to me, to be the change I wanna see. Unleash the energy, the synergy, that's where I wanna be. This feeling inside was there all along. Now I'm strong and I'm living with my power on. Gonna set my life in motion. Power on. Love, courage, and devotion. There's a spark to ignite. Flip the switch, bring the light. Power on. I see you in my reflection, the tears of joy and pain. Tradition is our connection, timeless wisdom from a precious chain. Everyone's got a different story, everyone's got a different name. We shine like the constellations, one heart but we're not the same. Let's type a letter with a new world vision, bringing into the struggle and division. Look at your child and make that decision to be better than yesterday. So hold your head high, sister, if you fall, I'm gonna walk on with you through it all. Power on, gonna set my life in motion. Power on, love, courage, and devotion. There's a spark to ignite, flip the switch, bring the light. Power on, honey, with your soul now. Power on, we'll make this broken world whole now. Through the dark, see the light, be the spark to ignite. Power on. Be brilliant and shine, with heart and with mind. This world is waiting for the change you bring. Momentum is strong in the road that we're on. Change is everything. Now take power on. Gonna set my life in motion. Power on. Love, courage, and devotion. There's a spark to ignite. Flip the switch, bring the light. Power on. Gonna be with your soul now. Power on. We'll make this broken world whole now. Through the dark, see the light, be the spark to ignite. Power on. Joburg to NYC, Montreal to Sweet Sydney, Budapest, Moscow, Santiago, Tel Aviv, and Chicago. Sisters and brothers in the tropic zone, Cancun, Panama, Boca Raton, DC, Toronto, San Antonio, Jerusalem, the city of gold, to the city of angels in the golden state. Flip that switch and activate. Brooklyn Bridge to the Parthenon. Everybody get your power on. On the colors of the Pashmina, from Istanbul to Argentina, Cape Town. Between two oceans, a sea of change and a world in motion. Feel the momentum, feel the power. Feel the momentum in every hour. Feel the momentum and take it higher. Wake up to your soul desire. Power on, sisters. Power
Ah, hello, welcome everybody. There are so many people, I cannot believe it. I can't even see all the screens. It was an extraordinary thing for me just now to watch that video, to remember back to before October 7th, and to realize that we had activated an army in all of you long before we knew we would need a spiritual warrior force. And right now, what I'm trying to, there's this ringing sound. Can we maybe turn off that ringing sound? I just keep getting it every second in my ear. Thanks, guys. So, you know what? Let's just begin. And I'm going to tell you what it is that we're doing. And hopefully, the next 45 minutes will give you some insights and some comfort to take forward. So, I want to welcome you to part one of this three-part series. And this is one of our standard platforms, Momentum Boost. But this time, we're calling it Look Up, Climb Up, and Speak Up. And let me explain why. First of all, I'm Adrienne Gold Davis. For those of you who have never met me before, I'm going to be your host and facilitator for this entire series. Now, tonight, it's going to be me specifically, but for the next 2 weeks, there will be special experts in every subject that we're going to be covering. Why are we doing this? Since October 7th, Momentum has brought 6 missions to Israel. We have brought together over 850 people from 15 countries with 28 partnering organizations. And I got to tell you, we all came to learn. We came to bear witness. We came to volunteer. We came to stand in solidarity with our beloved homeland. And while we thought that we were coming to help Israel, what we quickly discovered was that we were gaining way more than we could ever possibly give. You see, the resilience of our Jewish nation, and in particular, the Israeli people, brought us, I don't know, a measure of comfort, a measure of a way of understanding that our commitment and our growth and everything that we can bring to our families, to our communities. Now, the first thing I want to say is that we know that Jews are no strangers to times of crisis. And it's part of what I call our oscillating narrative. Most storytelling narratives are as such, things were bad and then they were good, or things were really good and then they went bad. But that's not the Jewish way. An oscillating narrative means that we will often return repeatedly to the same place where we began. We are different, but circumstances and situations often repeat themselves. And we have a history of strength, faith, and of rebuilding. So while it feels particularly singular these times for most of us, they're not in fact singular. We believed somehow that we were going to benefit by the statute of limitations post the Holocaust. I don't think any of us ever thought that in our lifetimes we would be seeing what is happening now. And yet we are. As Jews in the diaspora, once again, we are in challenging times. Anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic attacks are up 400% in the United States. And we're facing anti-Israel protests and social media slurs and student encampments and all of it agitating against us. And we've anti-Semitism, it used to hide behind the concept of anti-Zionism, but it's not hiding anymore. We have seen our enemies hijacked our narrative and manipulate the uninformed. And unfortunately, so many people are. I know it feels like a long time ago, but it was just a few short months ago. We sat at the Passover Seder. And for those of you who read it in English, like my family does, we read that famous line that says, in every generation, they will rise up against us. And I believe, again, that our generation thought we were exempt. Clearly, this was an erroneous notion. So you, all of you, are alumni of over 25,000 people around the world, asked us to help unpack this, to help us to understand what our efforts are meant to be in the face of all of this, so that we do not run the risk of internalizing the self-loathing that our enemies wish us to have. So over the next few weeks, we're going to welcome the internationally recognized Jewish thought leader, an educator. He's currently serving as the International Vice President of Educational Strategy for Taglit Birthright, Israel. His name is Dr. Zohar Raviv. This year, he is a scholar in residence for Momentum. He's brilliant. He's a force. And then the following week, we're going to welcome Eve Levy as well. She's an international Jewish speaker, an influencer, an educator. And she happens to be the co-director of the L'Chaim Center in Chicago, a community and a city that is so activated since October 7th. They've been role models in the momentum principle of taking action. She galvanized her communities, and we could all learn from them and from her what it means to actually take tangible action. But this week, what I want to do is address the spiritual roots of anti-Semitism. Why? Well, I believe that when we understand the narrative of Jewish history with that oscillating narrative that I spoke of, when we know that we have inherited resilience in our very spiritual DNA, that we find ourselves better able to cope, we're able to lead our families and to activate in our communities. And here's a thing I want you to remember. If you write down one thing, let it be this: being popular is not a Jewish value. Being true to our covenant is. So I want to begin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a series of ideas. And after I've completed that, we're going to open up the floor for your points of view, for your questions, for your thoughts. I think it's going to make a difference. I want to say, first off, that I personally believe, as a woman well into my years, who has tried every method of repressing truths, of telling rational lies, rationalizing things so they're not so uncomfortable, I have come to the conclusion as a grown woman and as a Jewish woman that it is better to be in a state of honest discomfort, to have those scales fall off your eyes like they have over the last 8 months, than to live in a comfortable delusion. Yes, that's right. It is better to live in that scrupulous self-honesty and to wrestle with these things than to pretend that it's not happening, because we can't look away. I want to begin by sharing with you a concept that some of you may have learned before, and it is where the principle of standing up comes from. We see it at the very onset of our narrative, at the beginning of Genesis, Bereshit in Hebrew. Many of us know the story that Adam and Eve, or from now on I will call her Chava because that was her real name. Adam and Chava were in the Garden of Eden, and they were naked and they weren't ashamed. They were mostly souls. They were neshamas first and bodies second. And they were given everything, a garden of earthly delights, to quote the shampoo. It was the place Joni Mitchell talks about when she says we were stardust, we're golden, and we got to make our way back to the garden. That's the way we lived. We were given one and only one rule: don't eat from that tree of knowledge of good and evil. Everything else was available to us as we frolicked naked and unashamed. But of course, as way leads on to way, we did eat from that tree, whether you see it literally or metaphorically. We ingested, we internalized an admixture of confusion, an inability to know which way to go, because most of us would walk over hot coals if we knew, is this the right school? Is this the right partner? Is this the right job? Is this the right decision? It is the indecision that we internalized that was so difficult for us. And one of the things that happened after we did this was that Adam and Chava saw that they were naked, and they covered up, and they quickly ran and they hid in the bushes. An extraordinary thing. Who were they hiding from? It was just them and God. Well, they hid in those bushes, and God, in this narrative, cries out to them, and he asks a question, one word, one of the few questions you ever learn about in our texts. And God says to them famously, Ayeka, where are you? Now, it wasn't like God needed to know. God could see. It's like when you play hide and go seek with a toddler and they stick their head under the table, the rest of their body's hanging out, and they go, Mommy, find me. And you can see them because they have not yet internalized what we call object impermanence. That means that the fact that I can't see you doesn't mean that you can't see me. That's why peekaboo works as a game. It's actually more of a torture device. And there we were hiding. God says ayeka, not because God needed to know where we were, but because we needed to be able to say where we are. And at the turn of every year, and we are moving towards the high holidays, each and every one of us must ask ourselves that question, ayeka, where are you? Where are you? Are you hiding? And of course, we know what happened. Adam blamed Eve, Eve blamed the snake, and so on and so forth. They pointed fingers, they made excuses. They didn't take responsibility. There is a singular answer to the question, ayeka, that we learn through the Jewish tradition. What they should have said, what nobody said until much later in our narrative when Moses said it. When God says, ayeka, where are you? When you ask yourself, where are you? Where are you holding? Come on. Where are you hiding? The answer should be hineni. Here I am. I am standing up. Because Adam and Chava learned something that most of you, if you live long enough or you've got a good therapist, have already discovered. And that is simply this: hiding doesn't work. And many of us post October 7th came out of hiding. We took our stars and we pulled them out and put them over our shirts. We were anxious. Should I tuck it away when I'm working? Am I safe this way? Am I safe speaking up, being vocal? Many of us who have been active on social media have received more hate in this last year than we ever thought possible in our lifetimes. I want to tell you something. And I think that this is a worthy thing to remember. This concept is something that they teach us a lot about anti-Semitism. They tell us that it's not that they believe when they accuse us, say, of theft. It's not that they believe that the Jews stole something. It's that the Jew haters love watching us turn our pockets inside out to prove that we didn't take anything. And many of us spend our time trying to make excuses, screaming back, that's not true. Educate yourself. Do you know what's going on? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. You should. But you need to know that it doesn't help. And I think you've seen that. The anti-Semite doesn't accuse the Jew of stealing because he thinks he stole something. He does it because he loves watching us turn ourselves inside out to prove our innocence. King Louis the 14th, oh no, the 9th, no, the 14th, that's right, once had this very interesting discussion with the famous 17th century Roman Catholic philosopher and mathematician whose name was Blaise Pascal. The king asked Pascal, show me the evidence that there is such a thing as the supernatural. And Pascal responded to him, the Jews, your majesty, the Jews. And Mark Twain, the famous Mark Twain, wrote an essay that he called Concerning the Jews. It was in a book of complete essays by him a long, long time ago. Let me read you this particular quote. The Egyptian, the Babylonian, the Persian rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faded to dream stuff and passed away. The Greek and the Roman followed. Oh, they made a vast noise, but they are gone. Other peoples have sprung up. They've held their torch high for a time, but it burned out, and they sit in twilight now, or they have vanished. The Jew saw them all, beat them all, and is now what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no infirmities of age, no weakening of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert and aggressive mind. All things are mortal, but the Jew. All other forces pass, but the Jew remains. What is the secret of his immortality? That's two non-Jewish philosophers, writers, asking that question. And the third, Leo Tolstoy, who was a believing Christian, also wondered the same thing. He said that the Jew is the emblem of eternity. He whom neither slaughter nor torture of thousands of years can destroy. He whom neither fire or sword nor inquisition was able to wipe off the face of the earth. He who was the first to produce the oracle of God, who has been for so long the guardian of prophecy and transmitted it to the rest of the world. Such a nation, he said, cannot be destroyed. As everlasting eternity itself. This notion, this idea of our eternality, this notion that somehow Christian philosophers and writers have always seen, is something that for the phase one of coping with these times, we must internalize. We must internalize that while when we said never again, we didn't mean never again means that they'll never rise up against us again. We say it every year at Passover. What it meant was never again will we not have a country, an army. Never again will we cower or be meek. We will fight. We will say Hineni. This is in your spiritual DNA, because what's happening now is nothing new. The Holocaust was nothing new. The pogroms, the Inquisition, the expulsion from England, 1492, when we were thrown out of Spain from Ferdinand and Isabella after the longest period of what they called the golden age of the Jewish people, when we were so integrated and so assimilated into the culture that there are some historians who said if we hadn't have been expelled from Spain in 1492, that there probably would be no Sephardic Judaism any longer. Why? Because we were so assimilated, we would have disappeared. So all of these things are historical concepts, you know. But when you open up our instruction manual for living, the Torah, the Bible, you will see that particular promises were made to us. Not only promises that we would always be here, but also warnings about what it would be like to be a Jew in the diaspora. Now, some of these things sound really grim, but in some ways, they can buoy your spirits, because if that is true, then the promise that we are eternal is also true. What I'd like to do right now is to go through some of them with you. Let's begin with the Jewish promise that the Jewish people are eternal. Based on Tolstoy and based on Mark Twain and Blaise Pascal and all of those, what did we say? In Genesis, God promises Abraham that the Jewish people are eternal. I will read you the pasuk, the text directly that he says. Listen to this. And I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you throughout the generations, an eternal covenant to be your God and the God of your descendants after you. It's right at the beginning. And then this. This comes from Yecheskel, and it says the following: that they shall know that I am God when I, listen to this, scatter them among the nations and disperse them over foreign lands. So we are told from our biblical prophecies, from our writings, from our very beginning, we are told you're going to be scattered. You're going to be all over the place. You're going to be in foreign lands. And then, well, we've survived so many turbulent years. And this was also predicted. We learn this in Devarim, in our Torah, and I shall read you this now. Listen carefully. And this is the grim bit. But again, as I said, if this is true, well, then it's also true that we're eternal. Among those nations, you shall find no respite, no rest for your foot. For there God will give you an anguished heart and wasted eyes and a dismayed spirit. Hello? I think that's what we're living with today. You will live in constant suspense and stand in dread, both by day and by night, never sure of your existence. Huh. It doesn't sound particularly strange, does it? And yet we were told. We were also told, and we learn this also in Devarim, that we will remain few in number, whereas we could have been as numerous as the stars of the heavens, but we would remain small in number. So 3 promises that God gave us. 1, that we will never, ever cease to exist, that he will never, ever abandon us entirely, and that we will inherit the land of Israel. And our side, we promised we would keep the covenant. But this is an unconditional covenant. Even if we learn, we renege on our side of the deal, in the merit of the matriarchs and patriarchs whose shoulders we stand on, whose spiritual DNA we carry, that covenant will never be dissolved. Why is this comforting? It has to be comforting, my friends, because it tells us that what we're experiencing is not unique to our time period, nor can we really defend it. We live in a time where all truths are secondary to the spin doctoring and the lies. He with the best PR firm wins. We know what the truth is. You have to know that this is part of what it means to be a Jew. And whether you are a Jew by conversion or by virtue of your parents, whether you're a Jew by choice or you're only just since October 7th waking up to this primary part of your identity, you should know that no matter what you accomplish in this world, no matter what you do, no matter who you become or don't become, the most profoundly important part of your identity is that you are descended from warriors. Your job in this world is to be a messenger of the light, and we will always be the canary in the coal mine. It will first start with us and move beyond that into concentric circles. But this, to say it's not personal, means it doesn't matter what you say. This is the trajectory of the oscillating narrative of Jewish life. And for those of us who are mothers, we understand that when we are educating our children, it is important, even though stories and fairy tales always seem to follow, a certain trajectory and then ending, it's a happy ending. Life isn't like that. In this week's Torah portion, we see Moses being told, you're not going to go into the promised land. You gave your entire life for these people. You said, let my people go. You moved them through the hell of those years in the desert. You carried them like a nursing mother, it says, and yet you don't get to go in. And this is the second really important piece of information, not just spiritually, but also psychologically, and to teach yourself and your children. The fact that you do everything right, that you have a purpose, that you have put all of your efforts into this march to the promised land does not guarantee that you're going to get in. But it also is not permission to not take the march. You must take that walk. How do we deal with this? How do we deal with this sense of being shaken to our cores? So many of us who have no model for this in our lives, who lived exempt for this, who had grandparents who might have said, you'll see, you can never be safe. And we thought, oh, get over it. The Holocaust was so long ago. Why do you think that? And find ourselves back in this place again. So there is a concept, a spiritual concept that we learn. And this is how I manage to move through these times with not just pain, but also with hope and joy. It's a famous concept. When Moses came down the mountain, you all saw the movie, and saw the people dancing around the golden calf, the idol, after they had just been told, no graven images, don't worship idols. Moses was carrying those 10 commandments, those two lukos, those tablets, engraved with the finger, and that's an anthropomorphization, obviously, of God, with 10 statements that represented 613 details about how to live a holy life. And he saw us dancing around and he smashed them to the ground. There's an idea that they were made out of sapphire. They were smashed to smithereens. Some say he did it in rage. How could they be doing this? It's like cheating on somebody on your honeymoon. There's another idea that Moses smashed those tablets because he knew that the people were not ready to be bound to those laws. That while he could take the slave out of Egypt, he couldn't take the Egypt out of the slave. That we were still suffering from Stockholm syndrome, that we still preferred the devil we knew, that we didn't understand what was really happening to us. He goes back up the mountain to beg forgiveness for the people. God wants to destroy us. Moses says, if you're going to destroy them, you can destroy me. Write me out of your book. These are my family. These are my people. And he begs and he pleads and he's up there for 40 days, which ends on the day that is Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, or as I like to call it, the Day of At-One-ment, when we received that second set of tablets. As we moved through the desert, the Jewish nation took those whole new tablets and they put it in the ark that they carried as a temporary sanctuary until we came to Jerusalem. But they didn't just take the whole ones. They also took the broken tablets. And we learn in the Talmud that they were nestled beside, touching the whole tablets. Why would we take the broken pieces? And the answer we learn is that when we move through life in the ark that is our heart, you will carry both that which is broken and that which is whole. As a mother, you will have one kid who is killing you, a mother killer who is ripping your kishkas out, and another one who's acing every entrance exam and gives you nothing but nachas for now. And you can have an incredible job and a lousy personal life. And you can have a really, really good personal life and not be able to make a living. It can be all great over here and all terrible over there, all at the same time. And you know what maturity is? Maturity is the ability to carry both what is broken and what is whole in the ark of your heart. You have permission to feel joy even when your heart lies panting on the floor, to quote Tevye. And this is one of the reasons why we learn that the most famous hashtag that has come out of Israel and from the Nova Festival post October 7th was, we will dance again. Because we will dance again. In fact, you can dance now. There is room in the ark of your heart to carry both the broken and the whole. So many of us refuse to be happy if something is not going well over here. And so many of us feel that we are being disloyal to our sadness or the loss that's around us if we celebrate what's good. But the highest form of Jewish spirituality we learn is the ability to bless God both for the good and for the not so good, because we don't really know. When we look at that famous song that the Byrds popularized in the 60s, which comes from Kohelet, or in English, Ecclesiastes, to everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season. There's a time for everything under the heavens. There's a time to love and there's a time for hate. There's a time for war. There's a time for peace. There's a time to cast away stones and time to gather them. There's a time to tear and a time to sow. It is a series of back and forth couplets that have no discernible order, because there is no good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. That binary thinking is not part of a mature spiritual outlook. Yes, there are things that feel good, and there are things that feel bad. And there are things that feel good that are bad, and there are things that feel bad that are good. Part of the message of the medium, of the way Kohelet is written, that for a season for everything, part of that importance is to know that everything has a season. And now, as Jews, it has been a time for war. We hate war. Anyone who knows the songs that Israelis sing, the military songs from the beginning of the onset of our nation, were songs about being able to transport battleships into ships that carry our beautiful oranges and food around the world, to be able to stuff flowers into the guns of our cannons. War is not a Jewish thing. We don't even like hunting. We barely fish. But there is a time for everything. And Judaism tells us, if they are coming to kill you, you can defend yourself first. So let's just take a look at this for a minute. We're looking at three things here. Number one, that this is not original, what's happening now. It just happens to be in our lifetime. Number two, we can understand that popularity is not a Jewish value. We're never going to be popular. Anti-Semitism, it sleeps, but it's an easy waking up thing. And it transmigrates itself over and over into different things. If it's not race or peoplehood or religion, we're too rich, we're too poor, we have too much power, we suck and drain society. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is part and parcel of what it means to be God's oldest child. Any of you who are oldest daughters, or oldest children know that the oldest child is chosen. They have a little extra responsibility. And in the end, they carry that. This is why all of this social science around birth order, it makes sense. We are the oldest child. We, my friends, this is the most important thing about you, is that you're a Jew. Because if you identify as a Jew today, even after everything we've seen now, you are a warrior. That's who you are. And it's your time to say, Ayeka. The fourth of this, we say Hineni, we stand up. Here I am. Choose me, is what Isaiah said to God. Choose me. Don't wait to be asked. Ask to be chosen. The second spiritual piece of it is that we have learned, and I showed you 4 different passages right out of the Bible that tell us this is how it will be. The third of it, or the fifth of it rather, is that the Jew needs to live in the sanctuary of their heart, carrying both the broken and the whole at the same time. This is advice for living, period. You have to be able to sustain a life when one thing is shattered beyond recognition and the other is perfectly intact. That's how we say we will dance again. And last, but certainly not least, is to remember we learn that it was in the merit of Miriam and the righteous Jewish women that we merited to leave slavery in Egypt. It was the women with Miriam at the helm who carried tambourines out of slavery because she knew we would dance again. When we left suddenly from Egypt, when we came across a sea that wasn't yet split, when we took the dough that didn't have time to leaven on our backs, and that's the reason we eat matzah on Passover. Why on earth would Miriam and the women have brought tambourines? Because they knew a tambourine is a pressure instrument. If you want those bells to ring, you gotta swat as tightly stretched skin. Out of tension and stress can come the most beauty, the most music, the strings of a piano, the pull tight of a tambourine, the strings of a violin. The Jewish women knew while it was tense and terrifying, while Pharaoh's army was going to chase us all the way out, that we would dance and sing again. And so they brought their instruments. And I'm telling all of us, pull out your tambourines. This will resolve. Will it resolve without tremendous loss? Obviously, we've seen it. Will we sustain and remain as a Jewish nation? God promises us yes. The real question is, when you look in the mirror and you hear that still small voice say, Ayeka, where are you? Are you going to say Hineni? Are you going to remember that we were spiritually informed what it meant to be a Jew and a Jewish woman? Are you going to help us fulfill that prophecy that just as it was in our merit we got out of Egypt, so it will be in the merit of the righteous Jewish woman that this world will come to redemption? I'm going to ask you, Amanda, to turn on everybody's screen. Look at us all. I have no idea how many people are on here because I don't have a thing to calculate it. But there are hundreds and hundreds of us here. It's on us. Now that you know that what we're experiencing is part of our oscillating narrative, do not be afraid. Don't be afraid. You may not get to see the promised land. You may not get to see the end of this conflict, but it is incumbent upon you to make a stand. And that is the momentum way. Connect to Jewish values. Foster unity without uniformity. Take action in your communities. Make a difference. Somebody wrote, Veronica wrote, the concept of Hineni is something that we all on this call have been saying, but how do we show other Jewish people the light so they will also say Hineni rather than hiding and pretending that what's happening to us today isn't our reality? I believe that when there is a collective mass of people who are the change they wish to see, who speak out, being fearless does not mean that you're not afraid. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision something is more important than your fear. Do something more. Over the next 2 weeks, you're going to hear about new ways to frame your identity that will answer those kind of questions. You will hear from Eve Levy brilliant ideas about activism. But I'm here tonight to start this discussion through a spiritual lens. And here's what I'm going to say to you, my friends. Be more Jewish. It looks different for all of us. There are easily things you can do. Light Shabbat candles. If you already light Shabbat candles, light them on time. Use your own words to pray. Prayer, lehit palel in Hebrew, is a reflexive verb. It's something you do on yourself. It's a self-examination. It has a meditative quality. Learn, study, open up your Year of Growth book, open up your Soulful book, open up a Siddur, something that's probably been sitting in your house since your bat mitzvah, or maybe since your momentum trip. Volunteer. And you're going to get over the next 2 weeks much more tangible, practical language. But I didn't want those 2 sessions that are coming up to occur until I had framed it spiritually. And I hope that that has value for you. You need to know that there is more power on these screens today, that your prayers are bullets as well. Use your own words. Believe me, God speaks every language. Just say, here I am. And remember, and this is something that we will talk about, remember this. It's a mitzvah not to speak where you won't be heard, Veronica. Which means it is not necessary for you to engage people who are not interested or who are haters. Better to focus on those who just don't know what they believe. And you never, ever do it in a way that is confrontational or negative or makes a person feel humiliated or shamed. I wonder, in our last few minutes, are there any questions or comments, ideas or thoughts from you? Something that this brought up for you? Even go as far as to say what annoyed you, what triggered you. I would like to know. I would like to hear. So that all of that is cleared, so that next week and then the week after that, you will be able to sit down and write down idea after idea after idea, holding still in your broken and whole heart the fact that we are an eternal nation. Can we unmute? You're welcome, Veronica. Prayers for our soldiers. What a wonderful idea. Prayers for our soldiers. Shall we end this with a prayer for our soldiers? Actually, Lala, my friend Lala Leibowitz is on, and her son is a lone soldier. I'm wondering if you have your Soulful book anywhere around?
It's not near me right now.
It's not near you? Can I
No.
to you, Lala?
I have mine.
Do you, Lindsay?
Yeah, of course I do.
Hi, darling. Can you
Hi.
read prayer for the soldiers? You have a
Sure.
nephew, well, an almost nephew, who's a lone soldier.
Yes.
Before you do, Stephanie Marks, how do we pass this message to others? What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you all of these notes. Everything I've said, all of the texts, all of the references. Over the course of the next few weeks, you or anyone who registered will receive the handout with all of this. There are other lone soldier mothers on the call too. I'm going to leave this to Lindsay now, please.
Do you know where I find it, Adrienne?
If you look at the very start,
Page 162.
Thank you.
yes, you can absolutely share the recording, Dana. And for Ezra German as well. Yes, go for it.
Okay. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, bless the members of Israel's defense forces and its security services, who stand guard over our land and the cities of our God, from the border of Lebanon to the Egyptian desert, and from the Mediterranean Sea to the Arava, and wherever else they are, on land, in the air, and at sea. May Adonai cause the enemies who rise against us to be struck down before them. May the Holy One of Blessing protect and rescue our soldiers from every trouble and distress, affliction and illness, and send blessing and success in their every endeavor.
And we can say,
Amen.
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 so my girls, let's just wrap this up till next week, because our mission, well, next week anyway, on Monday night, you're going to join me and you'll hear from Eve Levy. And she's going to really discuss what it means to climb up. This is the taking action piece, where you'll get many, many more ideas and things that you can do. This was the spiritual framing. You will get the physical framing next week to take action, to work as a community. And I just wanted to share that our mission, Momentum's mission, our army of over 25,000 women on every continent around this world, is more important now than it's ever been before. And I just want to tell you that the power of more Jewish mothers around the world, we need your help to unlock them. You should just know that the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, which helps fund Momentum, about 20% of our budget to be able to take women on these free trips to Israel, they do that because they believe that we are the jewel in the crown of the diaspora affairs. And while almost all the ministries cut funding to everybody, they gave us more. That is what a difference we are making as diaspora mothers for Israel. So I just want you to know that on September 25th and 26th, we have 36 hours that we're going to raise $1 million. We did it last year in crowdfunding. How do we do it? We do it $18 at a time, $36 at a time, $360 at a time, because every single cent of it is doubled. And we're hoping, really hoping, that you'll help us with that. Actually, because you're on the boost, if you want to do that tonight, if you feel like making a gift of any amount, it's still going to be matched dollar for dollar. We'll add it to our campaign when it goes live on September 25th. But I do hope that you will be part of our crowdfunding, because Momentum is changing the world. And I'm grateful that you joined me tonight. May the Almighty bless all of our soldiers. May He bring back all of our hostages. May all of us find the ability to carry the broken and whole in our hearts. At the same time, whether it's about what's happening to the Jewish people on now or the drama within our own families, we can carry it for each other. Keep our soldiers safe. Keep all those that we love safe. May we have the strength to remember who we are, and it is up to us. We can do this. I wish you all so many blessings, and God willing, I will see you next week. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Adrienne. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you,
Thank
Adrienne.
you.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Toda Rabba.
Bakasha. Blessings. So many blessings. Oh my God, there's hundreds and hundreds of people here. Oh, Laura
Thank you.
and Lori, thank you. It was wonderful to be together. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Ilana. We will dance again. Oh, wow.
Hi,
Don't
Adrienne.
go. Don't go, Adrienne. Stay.
I'm not going. I'm staying on the very last person hangs up. Is that my niece, Jillian Hosey? No way. No way. Amanda, can you put the spotlight on her so I can see her up close?
I'm so sorry, Julia. Absolutely.
Oh, oh, Jillian. Oh, mwah, mwah, mwah.
Oh.
Hello, my love. Oh, do you know, guys? Okay, you can take her off spotlight now. Let me just share something. I came in the delivery room when this girl was being born. I remember
Adrienne.
this yesterday.
Adrienne.
And here's what my sister, her mother, said. Get out. So that's probably the last thing Jillian heard before she came into the world. Susan Green, hello, my love.
Hello. You're going to meet my daughter when you're in Atlanta.
I am.
Yes, she's coming to the program where you're speaking, and she's bringing popsicles.
Oh, stop it. Oh,
She
stop.
is.
Did you tell her?
Me? You know I didn't tell her.
Thank you from Australia. Shelley Kaplan, yay. Wow. Oh, Angie, I'm glad you needed this. I needed it too. Look at us. Nobody wants to hang up. It's the best. Hi, Rhonda. Nikki Vernon. Another Aussie girl is here. Hi, Shauna. Look at me. It's like, remember John Boy? And I see Jillian. And there's Lisa and Shelley. Shelley.
And Marla.
Hi, Shelley. Where's your wife? Was she on too?
Yeah,
Huh.
she was on a different screen, but
Oh.
she's here.
Oh, and Rhonda.
Actually, she's here.
Oh,
Come,
wait.
she wants to
Rita.
see you.
I'll come say hello.
Rosen. Hi, Rita. Oh, hi. Hi, girls. These
Hi.
They're healthcare heroes. During COVID, they came with us and they just brought a unity mission. They had the experience of coming to Israel with us. You were in July, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Oh my gosh.
I think Tracy was on here somewhere. I didn't see her on the screen,
Tracy,
but yeah.
that's you.
Yeah. I'll see you next month in California.
Oh, and can you spotlight Michelle Leader? Because whoever is left on here needs to know that
Yeah.
Michelle Leader is a founder of Momentum. Michelle
Wow.
Leader is one of the Utah 8, along with Lori Palatnik and 6 other women. It is her energy, her passion, her resources, her commitment, and her holiness that has brought us to this place. So thank you. Sorry, I hope I didn't embarrass you. I love you, Michelle.
Thank you, Adrienne.
Billy, cannot believe you're here. Who else is here? Come on, people, hang up. My sister Marla Ullman is here. That's Jillian's mother, but she's not on her screen. She's probably having a bad hair night. Rena Grossman, I'm sending you love. And
Bus 2 is representing.
how many hundreds are on here? What did you say?
Bus 2 is representing.
Oh,
the
yeah?
May trip. Woohoo!
Mindy, I just saw a picture of you sending your kid off to college. You're so thin now, Mindy. How much?
I'm depressed.
Adrienne.
No, seriously, how much weight have you lost?
122 pounds.
Nina.
Yes, yes. Hi. Oh, Julie says
donut.
hi, Matthew. We can hear
donut.
you.
Hi, Marla. Could you come on? Everybody's still on. Somebody talk other than me. I'm getting tired of the sound of my voice. Naturally, that's not true. No.
I never get tired of the sound of your voice.
Oh, oh, you guys.
I was just going to say that. Never get tired of hearing your voice.
Oh my gosh. How many
Very
people?
inspiring.
Look at this. And there's Natalia. Hi again, Rhonda. Oh, look at what she's holding up. Oh.
Hi. I thought you'd appreciate knowing I'm 2 years Shomer Shabbos.
Oh my
I use
goodness.
your Siddur every morning.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Listen, honestly, just take the bacon off your double cheeseburger. It's a start. It's something. Like, just be more Jewish. Honestly, whatever that means to you. Honestly,
Yes.
it's such an honor to be here. Why is everybody still sitting here? Is it because of my scarf? Is
It's
it the
so
blue?
cute. Okay, nice to see you.
We missed you.
I'm
That's
going
what it
off.
is.
See you around town.
Hi,
Me
Elaine.
too. Hi.
Bye.
So good to hear your voice.
I
And
love your scarf, Adrienne. Please let me know where you get them. I love them.
this was given to me about 50